This is AP YouthNet.
Hello and welcome. Today is a very special show. We are broadcasting from the University, Suan Dusit Rajabhat University in Bangkok, on the occasion of a two-day workshop joining United Nations agency UNDESA, UNEP, the ILO, and UNESCAP on the very important topic of green growth and jobs for youth. And today we are going to be discussing some issues that are absolutely key in this region of Asia and the Pacific and throughout the world, because arguably there are two issues that are fundamental today: responding to climate change and responding to the growing challenge of youth employment. Today we are living in a world where in the next 10 years 600 million jobs need to be created. This is for the 200 million people currently unemployed, but it is also for the 40 million newcomers to the labor market every single year. And whether we want it or not, many of these jobs will have to be green. There is a growing demand from employers and from consumers for green technologies, for green sectors, for green industries. But however, the challenge is that this demand is not necessarily met by green skills, and therefore the need for further education and perhaps revision on curriculums for green skills in schools, in vocational training center, such as this vocational training center, which the UN expert group visited this morning. And this center focuses on hospitality management, hospitality and tourism. I'm very happy to be joined in this event by four very excellent panelists. And I will start to my very left with Ms. Pebbles Sanchez. Ms. Pebbles Sanchez is the Planning Officer 2 of the Climate Change Commission in the Philippines, and she currently serves as Technical Assistant to the Vice Chairperson of the Climate Change Commission, Secretary Mary-Ann Lucille Tsering. She currently spearheads youth activities of the Climate Change Commission. She is taking up Masters of Arts in Urban and Regional Planning at the University of the Philippines. And we can also add Ms. Sanchez that during the celebration of the Philippines National Climate Change Consciousness Week, you launched a youth movement for climate change called Greeneration. To your right, Mr. Mohamed Husni of the British Council. You're a youth leader from Sri Lanka. You're also a climate change maker and international climate champion. At 23 years old, you are a passionate advocate for the environment and for youth empowerment, and you have initiated numerous projects and campaigns, including founding Eco Care Sri Lanka, a voluntary organization working on promoting sustainable environmental practices among young adults. Recently, it is important to say that you have been invited to attend a special high-level roundtable discussion in London on the post-2015 development agenda, post-MDG. To your right, Ms. Kim Lee Choy, a master's candidate of medical science in public health at Universiti, Malaya. She is an active leader with environmental and humanitarian projects and civil society. She is also a committee member of the United Nations Association Malaysia Youth Circle. She's a nature lover and she's a peace seeker. She loves life and she loves the earth. And Ms. Choy recently attended the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, which took place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And to your right, Dr. Pornchanit Kaew-Nate, the Dean of this university and of this School of Hotel and Tourism. Thank you very much for welcoming us to your university, to your very impressive vocational training center, which hosts 2,000 students. We should mention that you are the first dean of this school, the school having been created just 3 years ago because it got separated from the business curriculum of the university. However, the curriculum for tourism has been in play for over 30 years already. And we are very happy to also mention that we are here in this room in presence of over 100 young people from your university, from your vocational training center as well. Let me ask a question, perhaps the same question to each of the three young panelists we have. Why, in your mind, is it so important to address this issue of youth employment at the same time as addressing that of green jobs and the growth of green jobs? Perhaps Pebbles, maybe we can start with you.
I think, Matthew, it is very important that we establish the linkage between youth employment and green jobs. So let us put this way. I'll put my personal experience on this. Upon graduating from my undergraduate course in 2010, of course, my main considerations include to find a job that is in harmony with my passion. Secondly, I would want to find a job that will help me improve my skills and knowledge. And of course, a job within an organization that is reputable. But in a practical sense, I would want to find a job that gives me income that will help me support myself and, of course, my family. I was very fortunate that it did not took that long for me to find a job. But in the Philippines, there are 1.3 million young people who are unemployed and around 2.3 million who are underemployed, or we consider that they're under vulnerable employment conditions because they don't have enough salary and they're not being protected by social protection systems. Now, here comes green jobs. And of course, earlier we were discussing about what is green jobs, and we find it somehow difficult to comprehend. And even I am still understanding and learning the concept of green jobs. But green jobs for us is not only the opportunity for us to contribute in helping protecting the environment or in helping addressing the impacts of climate change by reducing our ecological and carbon footprint, but more importantly, green jobs is an opportunity for us to address issues on employment. Yesterday, we discussed that greening will be the new wave of innovation. Therefore, we need to realize the potential of greening for this generation.
And Husni, what do you think? Why is it so much in the news to talk about green jobs and youth employment at the same time?
Yeah, well, if you look at the statistics, I'm not going to talk about statistics, but again, 87% of the young people live in developing countries are affected by their country's pressing issues. At the same time, there's a huge population in the world. Young people are more than 3.5 billion. So at the same time, they need to be employed. So forget about the green jobs and everything. Unemployment is a big issue for youth in the current scenario. So adding it to that, at the same time, we should contribute. I mean, as a long term, we should look into the perspective how we can contribute to the environment, at the same time live in a sustainable world. So there where we connect those two aspects, and we believe, like, as she said, like, we can always go for green jobs. There are so many like discussions going on in that area, but again, it's important to promote green jobs among young people. At the same time, I really focus on the mobilizing young people to get to know about these concepts, because in the high-level meetings we talk about these things, and we have very few platforms like this to talk about green jobs and unemployment. But there are so many people back in our countries, they don't know anything about green jobs. They know only about the jobs. So it is important to get the message across the communities. And we should also think about innovative ways, such as using ICT to get to involve young people and get the knowledge across. At the same time, they won't come and ask us, like, what is green job, and they don't really bother about it, because soon after their studies, it's about finding a job for a good pay. So in that case, it is important that we reach them out. Maybe like we can make really good interactive videos. And I mean, young people are very innovative. We don't have to talk about that. So it is about how we become innovative and reaching out young people to get this message across.
Let's hear from you, Pebbles, from the Philippines, from the Climate Change Commission. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with assimilating green skills to new curriculums in the Philippines?
I think there is no question in the relevance of developing, harnessing the green skills, and eventually mainstreaming it into the curriculum of our educational system in the Philippines. Actually, there are several policies and program initiatives that serve as foundation or framework for this kind of initiative. For example, in 2008, we had the National Environmental Awareness and Education Act, wherein it mandated several agencies, which includes our Agency for Education, for our Commission on Higher Education, the Technological, Educational, and Skills Development Authority, I hope I got it right, and other relevant agencies such as the Science and Technology and the Environment and Natural Resources. All of these agencies were basically mandated by the law to mainstream environmental concerns in their functions and, of course, in our curricula. At the same time, we also have the Climate Change Act of 2009. I have to mention that because I work for the Climate Change Commission. Right. And it basically engaged the Department of Education, of course, to include climate change initiatives in its curriculum. Now, we'll look at these things. Of course, these policies go hand in hand with programs. And, of course, the Commission, we recognize that the relevance of incorporating environmental awareness, greening into our curriculum, that even in our National Climate Change Action Plan, we included knowledge and capacity development, to be exact, in one of our 7 strategic priorities to pursue greening in the Philippines.
We are talking about young people being involved at the policy level. How about you, Kim Lee? You recently come back from Rio. You were at this Rio Plus 20 event. Do you think that the event will have a direct impact on the lives of young people?
Yeah, I think this one, the Rio Plus 20 conference, has really gave a direct impact to me and thousands of young people who attended the Rio conference. But it is not enough. The first example from my personal experience for attending this Rio conference is that it opens my eyes. Before flying all the way to Brazil, which is very far, I have no very clear idea about what is sustainable development. What I concern is the climate change is taking place and people is emitting carbon emission and our earth is warming. That is what I know. And what I concern is that going to Rio, Brazil, participating in the World Youth Congress, first is to empower myself. Second, and I participated in the Rio Plus 20 conference where I meet the young people, youth and children major group. They have an important role, that is educating people who attended the conference. Second is engage the young participant in the activity and discussion and empower them. And thirdly is to take action. So the most important event that taken place in the conference itself is the demonstration or the protest. Young people has already angry with the outcome document, and they walk out of the building and say, the future we want is not found here. The future we want is not found here. It is not about talking, it's about action. So the message I brought from the Rio Plus 20 is go to your home, back to your home place, hometown, and share the messages with the young people around you. Let them know what is going on inside the conference building, and then make changes that we want. Therefore, I think what we need to do is that first, let ourselves know what is going on, what is sustainable development, and what green jobs can really help us and our future next generation. Second is that be educated. Second, empower ourselves with the skills. We need people and talents to drive our economy. And thirdly is action.
We know that employers are looking into developing green skills because there is a growing demand from consumers. Dean Pornchanit, and I will give the mic immediately after that to the young people here in this audience because we really need to hear from them. But what is your opinion in terms of what young people in Thailand are looking for when they are about to graduate? Do they have a preference in terms of going for employers who are labeling themselves as green or greener than others, or is that not a consideration?
The only one word to answer this question is what they want is quality of their life. after they graduate, they want to make their life good, better, and the best as they can. So what is the academic sector can serve them is to give them the experiences in the occupation, okay? And what is the quality of life? There is a trend, a new trend from the young generation. They want to be their own boss. They want to create or set up their own business. Okay, it's some of them they want to create their own business, but at first step they can't because they have no experiences. So that's why in general they want to work in the big company to get the experiences. After that, they don't want to be hired for forever.
But
okay?
do they have a preference for companies that are labeling themselves as green? Or is this not a consideration?
Yeah, okay. In general, in the big company, they have a standard. They have like a way of working to teach the employees in normally. And for years, they can groom the experiences from that. Okay. But I think in the last chapter, they want to build their own business. That's why in the academic sector, we have to change a lot in the curriculums. For myself, we set up new subject like entrepreneurship to teach them how to be a good entrepreneur, how can be survive in the real situation, in the real industry. And some of them, they have their own, like a family business that nearly to die, or the family business cannot change, cannot adapt themselves well in the dynamic environment. So they, after graduates, they use their knowledge to help that, family business.
Well, I suggest that let's hear from them. Let's hear from the young people. Let's go for a first round of questions from the audience. Young and also the not so young, but we really want to have young people, please, to participate and ask questions or make some comments to enrich this debate. So let's take a first series of questions or comment. Please identify yourself first. What is your name, where you come from, and go ahead with your question. Yes, please.
My name is Ifi Uche. I'm from AIT, Asian Institute of Technology. Green jobs. We've heard so much from yesterday and today. And my mind focuses on the informal sector. And for me, and as well as many other youths, like the dean said, we are all concerned about the quality of life. And I also come from a place where the green jobs will not sound very attractive. So I would like to know what support is available. I'm also going through a mind-opening experience. So I want to know what kind of opportunities are available for some of us who are beginning to see the prospects in green jobs. For some of us who are thinking of starting a movement like Ms. Pepple here, is there any kind of support that we can get from ILO? Also as an incentive to create more awareness about green jobs and also make it look attractive.
Dean Pornchanit, well, the question was indirectly asked to the ILO, but really it comes to the vocational training centers. It comes to the training institutions to adapt their skills. Can you share with us your experience? In which way do you work with the private sector to identify and to adapt new skills?
Normally in academic sector, we are always questioned by the industry. Why you produce the graduates, but when they step out from the university, they can work? Why? This is a big and significant question for me. So that's why there are some gaps between academic sector and industry. That's why, from my experience, 3 years, I set up one project to inviting private sector come together, helping together to develop curriculums, to develop graduate students, and increase competencies of academic staff. Okay, the project, we change all the learning in classroom to learning and teaching in the real situation in the company. So student has at least 2 semesters. They have to work in the hotel, have to work in the ally company. Okay, and for example, in the hotel, they work in the 5 or 6 divisions in the hotel, and the school will transfer that work to be the credit, to be the grade. And the staff in the private sector, they have the power enough to give the student marks and grades. So students, they learn a lot in the real situation, and staff teach them a lot. And now we know what is the gap between the curriculum in classroom, teaching in classroom, and in the real situation in the industry. So that is the good start point to for me and for my team to change the curriculum, change the subject, change the way of teaching, change the way of the assessment, for example. So I think I see something that industry and academic sector, we have to collaborate closely together to helping, because only the academic sector we cannot follow in the dynamic environment, especially in the hospitality industry.
Pebbles, do you see the same thing? We are talking about on-the-job training, acquiring skills not only in the classroom, but also on location with the employers. And really, we are talking about the need for further apprenticeship programs. Is it something that you think is one of the ways to enhance the skills that you may have, for green skills? And is it something that you think apprenticeship programs for green jobs that may be launched or developed in your country, in the Philippines?
Yes, I think it is very significant that we do that kind of programs, apprenticeship programs. As the cliche goes, we will only better understand it if we practice it. So we will only learn by doing things. And if I am not mistaken, our government agencies in the Philippines are already exploring such initiatives to ensure that the youth, before they really enter the real world, the big world, they are already equipped with the knowledge and skills that they will be needing to deliver what are being expected of them from the work that they will have. If you will also allow me, I'd like to react to an intervention a while ago that was given from our colleague from AIT, because she mentioned about greeneration. And perhaps I would also give my personal opinion, because yes, upon receiving the invitation for this Green Jobs meeting, my first impression is really, this is an experts meeting. Green Jobs is too big of a concept for me. And our tendency really is we get scared when there are new things being introduced to us. But what I thought of when I got here is the real goal. And when I relate it to my country and to my personal experience as well, I think of Green Jobs with an end goal of mine that is, this will help us reduce poverty in the country. So green jobs will help us. Of course, we need technological innovations, but at the end of the day, green jobs will really be helpful for us to achieve our goal of reducing poverty, improving the lives of the people, and as Ardeen said, the quality of lives of many people in different parts of the world. And for this to be realized, of course, greeneration was mentioned. We need to have intensive information and educational campaigns. And what we envision for the Greeneration Philippine movement, Philippine campaign, is that we may be able to empower young people, educational institutions, for them to come up with their own initiative, not only in their school, but also in their communities.
Perhaps before we go on and go and move toward the conclusion of this event, can we have maybe time for a few more questions or comments from the audience? Yes?
Hello, I'm Daniel Lee from Korea. Still relatively young, but I guess I'm in that transition between youth and being an adult through jobs. I guess the dean mentioned that a lot of students after gaining experience, they also want to build their own businesses. But for business, entrepreneurship, you usually have to have some good ideas, business models, and become creative. Look at some opportunities where other people haven't seen before. And going back to what Kim Lee Choy was saying, that we're not exposed to this kind of opportunities or knowledge. Because I found it interesting yesterday. For instance, in the hotel industry, you're trying to encourage clients to use the towels, reuse them by giving them some carrots, like free internet access. I think if we are exposed to more of these positive examples, I think it will also help youth entrepreneurships in that area, in that direction. Just getting used to more positive examples. So in that context, I also wanted to ask the panelists whether they also sometimes felt a deficit of this good examples, where they can get inspiration for new green businesses, some positive examples where they can get ideas, some examples that they could follow. Right. Thank you.
Husni, do you think it is the reason why you were invited in London to bring your perspective directly as a young person and bring the good examples from Sri Lanka?
Well, there are few examples even from Sri Lanka and regionally, and but that's something I really want to make a comment on that in the conclusion part, but it has come here. But before that, coming to that part, I just want to make a small note, because that was in my conclusion note as well. Basically, it is important to prepare the younger generation for these concepts. It's very important. Now, we see the questions. Everyone is like clueless. What's green jobs? And what are the examples? What is this? So it is very, very important, because yesterday's expert group meeting, we discussed about the secondary education, importance of promoting these ideas, which is really good. At the same time, it is important to get the message across. Right now, unfortunately, we have very few organizations. For example, I'm with the British Council of Global Changemakers, and we have a very good connected network from all over the world, and we are a group of social and entrepreneurs, and they do their work in their own communities in small scale. And when we ask for examples, do we have a really globally everyone knows example everyone knows? It's very rare. So if you know, no one will ask these questions. It's very with their passion, they come up with their own concepts, innovations, and they come up with some ideas, and they implement with very hard work, and very difficultly they get some small money from somewhere, and they implement it. And we have those small examples as examples for the whole world, which is kind of sad. Now, it's important that globally we think how we can spread the word, at the same time get some good examples, globally initiated examples as well, because at the same time it's very grassroots level, very small scale projects, and we get those examples at a very high level meeting and say, okay, this is good, this is good. But it's time to think forward and say if they can do with their limited resources, what we can do with our network and the resources we have. To come into your question, basically, for example, in Sri Lanka, one of my friends is working on promoting solar energy in rural village, and there are some people working on recycled bags and recycled shoes from Indonesia, and I have I'm friends from all over the world, especially with the global change makers. They are doing amazing work. If you want, you can just visit www.globalchangemakers.net, and you will see lots of examples there, and it's very innovative, and it's up to your resources around and how your capacity.
Yes, thank you. So knowledge sharing, knowledge management, and also really knowledge sharing to talk about the importance of talking about green jobs in the context of them being decent jobs. Because if a job responds to environmental values, issues, but they are not good for people, they are not green jobs. Green jobs need to be jobs that are good for the people, in terms of jobs where people feel that they have a fair remuneration, the employers have an opportunity to discuss in an open dialogue with the worker, where there is occupational safety and health, and so on and so forth. We're going to come close to the end of this show. And I think that for the concluding remarks, we talk about policy making in Rio, in London, with the UN agencies that we represent here in this event. Let us think now about the 80% who live with less than $2 per day in the region. Let's think about the 70% that live with less than $1.25 a day. How can we ensure that those policy documents, that those youth employment strategies, that those green job initiatives that we are discussing in such events are going to touch directly and concretely the lives of those people? Pebbles, maybe.
You first asked me because I work for a policy-making body.
That's right.
I entered the government at a very young age, despite all of the perennial problems that I hear from the television, from the media about government. But it's because I believe that the government is sincere in looking after the welfare of its people. And when you ask about how do we ensure that the policies we make and the programs that we do really reach specified the marginalized groups or vulnerable communities, the youth, especially the youth. For example, in the Commission, we have several programs that we have. We have the ecologically stable and economically resilient towns that targets the poorest provinces in the country and envisions to alleviate them from poverty and help them enhance their adaptive capacity to the impacts of climate change. We also have, of course, the Greeneration Philippines aims to empower different young students and communities to address climate change and other environmental concerns. But at the end of the day, I realized that all of this are in the policy level. Now, for us to realize this and to see its effective implementation, there should be convergence of efforts. Different sectors, different stakeholders should have a say in this, especially the youth. We should speak out. We should be more conscious. We should be proactive. A while ago, there were a lot of comments on exposure. We have problems on exposure. Of course, it's a fact. We have difficulties in finding opportunities for us to better understand these concepts, especially that we have to rely to experts. But it's also a reality, and it should be a reality for us, for the youth, that we be proactive in looking for these opportunities for us to understand better and appreciate our key roles in this greening concepts that we have. So I say that it should be a convergence of efforts of everybody.
Husni, do you agree? Now is a chance for your final remarks. And do you agree with Pebbles? And do you think that it is the necessary thing to do then to include young people in policy debates such as those, thinking always of those who need the help the most, those 70% under $1.25 per day?
Well, I'm totally agree with Pebbles, and it's I should say, to be honest, it's a big challenge how we're going to implement these policies, because we decide here, but who's going to implement it, how is going to get it done. So that's where we always say, like, set the agenda globally, achieve them locally. So it's something like each government has a big role to play in this area, because because we can talk about the policies and guide them, but again, at the same time, individually back in country, all of us, we talk here in different places. It's our responsibility to do our work back in our country. One point, it's not about just attending. At the same time, each government has a big role to play in this and localize their policies, localize their action plans. At the same time, I would say, like, it's important, most of our countries nowadays, we have youth policies. And it is important to include these aspects into youth policies. I don't know how many people are consulting and concerned about the green jobs and everything when they finalize their policies. So it is very important. At the same time, it's not only in youth policy, it should be the national agenda as well, because what happens is youth policy is managed by youth ministry, and they will have a separate national agenda, so it won't work out at all. So it is important that how government look into these aspects. At the same time, civil society has a big role to play, and like Pebbles said, it's important to work together. Build an intergenerational dialogue, which is very important, and at the same time, especially with even among the UN agencies, it's important. I say, like, it's important to work together. UNEP should work with ILO. ILO should work with UNESCO's, education first, for example. So we have to make sure, like, okay, in that agenda also this has been included, because we talk about secondary education. So it is very important that we interconnected and come to one platform and think think very in a long-term manner. At the same time, achieve locally with the support of our own communities. So it is very important, yeah.
Green growth and green jobs for the youth. Kim Lee, what are your final remarks, and do you have any message you would like to send to policymakers out there?
Yeah, I have a lot to say. Regarding the youth employment, I would like to give one example. No, first I want to give, I want to voice out the limitations that the young entrepreneurs are facing now. The first thing is the bureaucracy. When we want to explore the new thing, be innovative to open the market of the green job, we face bureaucracies. The application is very long, take a long process, and then there are middle people taking advantages on us. Second, we talk about the political will. We need political will. Politicians must do something to change, but one politician is not enough. If the politician say, I want to change green growth, green job, for sure, very soon, he will be removed, will be eliminated. Why? Corruption. When people want to make fast money, they will forget about the sustainable development, the environment. Because everyone wants to grow fast, want to earn money fast. Who cares 50 years later? I don't know about this. After this, I will be nowhere, so make money first. They forget about it. And the fourth one would be technology transfer. We have the idea, but we lack technology. We have no money to develop that technology that help us to be advanced in this green aspect, green sector. And lastly, is our mindset and the awareness. If we do not have the awareness, we don't need to talk about the green jobs. We need to have the mindset to value what is more important to our life. It's not what money can give us, because you have money, you cannot buy the natural resources. Yes or no? And finally, I would like to give one example about the green entrepreneurship. Like, I want to answer Mr. Daniel's question. Is that the example was? Earlier, I talked about the waste. I am very interested in the waste problem. So we have the food waste generated every day in Malaysia. 4 twin towers, KLCC twin towers, is not enough to go into our landfill every day. Can you imagine continuously this amount of food waste, not only food waste, but the waste that we generated have to go to the landfill? How many landfill are we need to going to dig to fulfill our requirement to fulfill the waste product that produce every day? It's not enough. We need to find solutions. So we young people, find the solution that is to do the composting. Do you know this thing is actually come from your plates and your kitchen? No, you don't know. But once I tell you how to do it, you can make use of the food waste to become compost and then go to your farm and you can grow vegetable. This is the chili. I got it from the compost because it's a very good thing. It's very good for our environment. But we face limitation. No one wants to buy our compost. Why? Expensive. I tell you, green sector is not easy because the cost to produce all these things is not good for our economy. No one wants to buy our compost. No one wants to buy expensive vegetable. So somebody needs to help us, to help our young entrepreneurs to address all these problems. Because what we are doing now is not making fast money, but it's for our future. That is my closing remark.
Well, thank you very much. And the last word to Dean Pornchanit, what would be your message to policymakers out there talking about green growth and the creation of green jobs for the 2,000 students of your vocational training center?
Okay, thank you. Okay, for me, to be green should not like a fashion. I don't know now it's a fashion not to say, okay, let's go green together. I agree with your one word. We have to set up awareness first. That is everyone's responsibility. In academic sector, teachers, lecturers have to put the awareness of to be green to our students, because to be green is not generated from the birth. We have to educate young people, young generation, okay, how to be green. What is the importance of green? And the green, okay, at first step, I think it's expensive, but in long term, it's sustain. So it will be cheaper per scale, okay? And after the awareness, we need some skill like creative skill. I would like to answer the Daniel question, the sample. Last year, my school, my lecturer with students made a project at one province in the eastern part of Thailand. It's quite very local people there, but rich of culture, rich of natural resources. And people say, oh, they are very poor. How tourism can help, solve the problem of poverty? Our staff and students, they create new route of tourism. Very creative destination, very creative and quality route of tourism. It's a new route. And launch this proposal to the TAT, and they accept. So the new route, the quality of route of tourism, don't hurt the way of life of the local people, don't hurt the culture there, don't hurt the environment, but it's a new way for the customer, for the tourists to come enjoy. So this is one sample that can be the inspiration of how to be green or how to be make a decent job, green job. Okay, so my last message is we have to put awareness in everyone's mind, and then we need some skill to be green. And at first step, okay, it's expensive, but it will be sustained. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I add a bit?
Okay, Kim Lee, final remark.
Oh yes, I forgot to tell you that the food waste is the 4th contributor to the global warming climate change, because the methane produced from the food waste is very powerful, faster than the carbon dioxide. So about the green economy is that we create a market, we create a job opportunity for the poor people to be the composter. Join us to make compost, which first reduce the waste problem. Second, we find the market to sell this compost so that it grows green vegetable for health, good for people to consume. We are trying to close the gap, solve the problem, create market, and solve the economy problem, which is we create job opportunity. Second, we solve the social problem, that is unemployment. And thirdly, we do environmental friendly job.
Thank you very much. And that will be the word of the end. Thank you for clapping for our panelists. And thank you very much to our 4 panelists, Dean Pornchanit Kaew-Nate, the Dean of this School of Tourism of Suan Dusit Rajabhat University. Thank you so much for your remarks. Ms. Pebbles Sanchez, from Planning Officer 2 of the Climate Change Commission of the Philippines. Mr. Mohamed Husni, youth leader from Sri Lanka, and Ms. Kim Lee Choy from the United Nations Association's Malaysia Youth Circle. You will be able to see this show on the knowledge sharing platform for youth employment at www.apyouthnet.ilo.org. And for more information on green jobs and on youth employment, please log on to our website www.ilo.org/Asia. Thank you very much again from Suan Dusit Rajabhat University. And finally, a very great extension of thanks to the organizer of this experts meeting from UNDESA, UNEP, the ILO, and UNESCAP. Thank you very much, and see you again next time.
This has been an AP YouthNet production.